Last of Us episode 5, right? Right? Yeah. I was like, what? Like, everything's a little off because of the Super Bowl. But I thought, high level, this episode was awesome. Again, kind of a departure from the game. Going into, I mean, it really opens. We kind of alluded to this last episode with the what is it like when a revolutionary group takes over, and we get to see like early days, like that night the FEDRA people are taking over, and they're cheering, but it's not supposed to give you warm and fuzzies about what it's like when people overthrow their oppressors. At least it didn't give me any warm and fuzzies.
No, I think they even made a comment about it. Like, usually the people who come in charge are like worse. They're like no better, but it ends up being worse than what it was before. Which is interesting. I guess high level for me, this is probably the first episode I have some negative things to say.
Ooh.
With that being said, doesn't mean I didn't like it. I still thought it was great, but just this was the first time I was like, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, I'm curious what you have to say, because continuing on with that, I thought it kind of moved a little fast through all of it. Like, you kind of get a good sense of Sam and Henry, who they are at first, because it kind of catches you up after the first 20 minutes or so of showing the backstory with Sam and Henry surviving, or at least getting borderline surviving. Or I guess it's more of like into the frying pan, into the fire.
Right. Definitely. Joe, what do you think?
I have a couple things that I'm hesitant on. I want to hear yours before I touch anything.
Gotcha. Interesting.
But,
Okay.
Overall, there's a lot of parts that I liked about it. I mean, to your point about the revolution, and that when there's a revolution, often it gets even more violent before than it was before. There's even a comment in there about how when you've been oppressing people for a long time and you do all these terrible things, the moment they get the chance to do it to you, they do. It's like, oh, well, look at that. It's just a trade-off. It doesn't, in some sense, the badness doesn't really go away. It just changes hands. But I think as a broad general impression of that episode, I liked it. You know, it was good. But yeah, I'll say no more.
So I guess we can just kind of jump right into it, because do we get a better picture of why or what Kathleen's motivations are and why she's so single-minded focused? And this is kind of sprinkled out throughout the episode, but we're going to kind of compress it to kind of talk about it, because I think one of our big hangups last time was Kathleen's character feeling, I mean, she's like a soccer mom who somehow is in charge of this paramilitary group, and the Perry is like her right-hand man. But it's like, if this guy's a paramilitary guy, why is he not the one in charge? Is kind of the idea. And I mean, I can't help but think some of this is a little, I don't know. They didn't really do it too well. They could have done this a little bit better or something. Like, maybe make her like former military, even if she's like an MP or something. Like, it would have just come off better, in my mind. And so basically the big revelation here is that the reason she's after Henry is that Henry, I forget what they called him. Oh my God. Maybe if you guys remember, he's a collaborator. That was what it was. And he sold out the leader of this group, who was Kathleen's husband. And then, so that's why she's so single-minded focus on catching him, because he basically destroyed her whole world. And so she can't live without some sort of retribution, effectively. Which I think is a fine motivation. I just don't see that in her character.
Was it her husband or brother?
Brother.
I thought it was, his brother?
I think it was, yeah.
Oops.
No worries. I was like, maybe I heard that wrong.
You know, it's HBO. Anything could happen. It could be both.
Hashtag Cersei, you know what I mean?
Hashtag the Lannisters.
Yeah.
It's the aristocrats, but
oh no.
Oh God.
For those of you, be careful.
What are we doing?
I know, that's why I said be careful.
Jesus. Yeah, with Kathleen, yeah, that was one of my things. I was like, okay.
Like, I wanted to give
Uh,
it the benefit of the doubt really bad. And I think
yeah.
we did, or at least we tried to give it the benefit of the doubt last episode because they didn't give us anything. But this one, I was just kind of like, I can't accept it completely.
Yeah, it wasn't so much she wasn't military for me. I care less about that. I think what they were trying to get across is she's like the brains, knows how to galvanize emotionally, and kind of has that. And then something with her brother. I think that was what the point they were getting across. It was more her brother that was like that led anyone because they were alluding that he was such a good man, right? So it seemed like them two probably worked together to get a lot of things done. So maybe she wasn't like a tactician necessarily or something like that, but more just like, the 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 beacon of hope for those people who were oppressed, you know what I mean? And got everyone together to start the revolution. So she's like bestowed that responsibility. I think that's where they were going. With that being said, one of
Yeah, I
my
think that's fair.
issues one of my issues was that it did seem that I wanted more time with that. Like, you know what I mean? She seemed so interesting and like had all this power. I just felt like there was more room there to really dig in so we can learn more about them and maybe even empathize more um with them, because it was kind of like you kind of have to empathize quick, right? It was like, oh, her
Yeah.
brother died. Get it or don't, whatever. We're moving past it. Um
Well, especially too, like that one opening scene in the flashback where they have the other collaborators they had captured, and she's like, "We're not FEDRA. We're not gonna kill you. But if you tell us, like, as long as you tell us, like, you guys are rats, so tell us what I want to know, and then we'll let you go or whatever." And then they step outside the room, and she's like, "Are we really gonna let them go?" She's like, "Of course we're not. What do you mean?" And I'm like, okay, so not really dialing in that empathy thing at all. Like, it's like you're
mhm.
not supposed to like her, period.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really
Yeah.
convincing to me. It was like she's supposed to be sort of intimidating in that moment where she's got all these prisoners and like, we're going to let you go. And then like, or kill them all, whatever. And then they start talking and it's like, oh, we don't want to die. So we'll talk. And then they just decide to kill them anyway. And that whole sequence, I was like, yeah, I don't buy it. I was like, I don't know. I don't buy it. I'm like, this
Yeah.
still feels like a soccer mom to me. Like, I'm not freaked out by this. I don't buy, like, it's not the character exactly. I think some of it might be casting. Like, I hate to say it, but like I think that actress doesn't quite fit, or at least I had a hard time believing that she was like able to able to be that harsh, and the way she carried herself in that scene felt to me like in real life, it felt a little too emotional. Like it either need to be like, how do you say this? It either need to be pure business, where it's just like, we said that. He's like, are we really gonna keep him alive? And she just be like, no, because this is common. Killing a bunch of people is commonplace, and so it's just business. Or she's totally dissociated from that. Or if you want to capture some of the emotion, it should be in killing them should be a act of revenge. Like, it isn't that these people are guilty of killing her brother, but she's become so twisted that the revenge feeling, like any pressure release that she can get, is one that she'll happily take. And that there should be a twist to the knife. There should be
Right.
a kind of vitriol that she should commit against even innocent people in her hatred.
Yeah, I think it would've been
And
interesting, like, if you would have had her, like, pull the trigger in that moment, be like, "Are we really gonna let them go?" And then she just turns and then just and just set the example, right?
right, to
Yeah.
give her something. I want more of an edge there. I want a little bit
Yeah.
more unhinged. I want her to like it's almost like a kid who's gotten a hold of a rat or something and it's just like, oh look, I can make it hurt. Like, that's what it should be like. It should be her being like learning to be sadistic, like
Mhm.
it letting that out. But none of that was there. It was just, I
Yeah.
was just like, oh,
I think
Yeah.
that's the key is more like if they like how they did with the Bill and Frank episode, where they had a whole episode attributed to that love story. I felt like it deserved what they were trying to get with Kathleen and that group, it deserved that same amount of time and respect so that we could buy into her character. Because I was like, the acting itself is fine.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. I'm like, I feel like the reason I don't buy it as much, like you're saying, is because I don't really know her still. Like, it's still too, like, I kind of want to care. She's kind of interesting, but it's like you get bits and it's like up to you to put them together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like,
It's
if
more
we had a whole,
disjointed, right? Because like
yeah,
we enter into the story halfway through effectively, and then we get caught up on half of the picture with Henry and Sam, and then we're fed through narrative the other portions we don't see. And so that's
right.
why it feels so like almost half baked.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it just, I felt like it needed a whole episode to get that empathy, to see what they went through when they were oppressed, see their revolution, even if it was a 2 episode like flashback where you kind of derail from Joel and Ellie,
It would have been
and you
interesting
just,
to really see that, like more of the
yeah.
like why would they overthrow FEDRA? Like what was so different to this FEDRA that caused them to rise up?
They mentioned that in dialogue, and and that
Do they?
was another part I was going to say. There was a lot of telling, which again, I think the main issue is that they only have 9 episodes to get this across. So that's why I'm like, it's not a bad writing. It's whatever deal got made. They
Not
only
enough
got 9
time.
episodes. Yeah, so you're not going to have 2 episodes or an episode. You can't do that. You know what I mean? You don't have the time. So they kind of have to be like, oh, well, the FEDRA, this section of FEDRA was like raping and killing people. Like they were fucked up.
Because they
So
said
you just,
hanging too, I thought. I remember them
yeah,
mentioning that.
all the bad stuff, they were doing to these people. And you kind of had to be like, oh, okay, that was happening to them. That's why they overthrew them. Now she's pissed. Now she wants revenge. Just would have been nice to see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like I think so. I wonder if some of this is like the production process of this was rushed a little. Right,
Mhm.
something here feels like to me that they could have got maybe tweaked the writing, done another pass on the script there just to get it like a little more refined, just a little sharper for the actual filming and everything else. And part of it is like in a stereotypical version of this, right? Like post-apocalyptic paramilitary group, freedom fighters that have just overthrown their oppressor. The leader's a guy, right? That's the standard, right? That's what you would expect. Now they don't want to do that probably because it's already been seen before, right? So they're like, okay, let's throw this woman in there. She'll be the leader of this paramilitary group. Cool, we can do that. But then they sort of, it seemed to me, it's almost written for a guy. Like, it's like if it just feels like they just went, okay, they wrote the whole script and they just like took that person out and they just went put that person in and that's it. Like,
Yeah.
but this is an atypical situation. This isn't what I would expect out of post-apocalyptic military group when there's a special operations dude that's half running it. So show me the kind of person, the kind of woman that would do that, that
Right.
would run a paramilitary group. What kind of character does that take? Right? Like I can imagine the kind of human being, like just talking through this, the kind of
Mhm.
human being that could actually, hold the reins for a bunch of people who just went on like a 10-day bloodlust killing spree. Like, what's that? What does that take to make those people listen to you? Right. And I had a really hard time buying it. It just felt to me like, what? Because she's the sister of the guy that's dead now. That's why. Or was this is like a half monarchy now? She just happened to be related, so now she gets like the crown. Is that what just like okay, fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're all on the same page with that. Like,
Yeah.
it was just,
I think the big thing here is it's like, okay, think about it from the perspective of what they were like the showrunners were trying to get across. And I think we're looking at this from like a zoomed out lens, whereas like this is more of like the sideshow of the episode of like, okay, let's tell a little bit more about the world and like how this might work. But the real core of this story is, hey, let's give a surrogate like duo in the form of Sam and Henry for Joel and Ellie to contend with and be like, hey, this is you guys, or like this might be you guys one day. and then you're giving them the extra problem of like Kathleen, like, look what you might do because you care about someone so much. Um, and I think that's really what the core of the episode is. So it's like they were kind of stuck between two worlds, like fork, and they wanted their cake and eat it too at the same time. Of like flesh out these really just bad guys, and then also like expand on the Sam and Henry story. Um, which I mean, you got an hour to do that, and that's not an easy task.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're 100% right. I think that's exactly what they were going for. One thing we were kind of praising them for up until this point was that they took the time to slow down and really like flesh these things out. And I feel like just here's the first time that you feel that they didn't or couldn't, whatever the reason, do that. And so it's like, okay, we see what's happening, but this Kathleen thing, it needed more room to work, I think, to the level that it probably could have and would have, because it was an interesting story. It was like nothing was really wrong with it. I don't think it was just they didn't have the time,
Yeah.
But I think you're 100% right. I think that was what they're trying to articulate, and I think effectively they did. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I think they set out with that core message. I will get to the Sam Henry, Joel Ellie comparisons, I think, toward the end of this episode. But really the first half of this episode is all about like how Kathleen is responding to the situation and how Sam is not Sam, Henry is like trying to be really a father figure to his little brother. And like how hard that is. And then they made it more interesting because he can't speak. I think he's deaf.
Yep.
So that's why he does sign language most of the episode, which kind of is an interesting idea, especially in a world where like making sound with the infective is what triggers them. I really thought they had a really good chemistry together. I think they played it really well. And they're just trying to show like, how would someone so young kind of figure out the survival? And it's like, again, we're not even seeing infected. It's been since episode 2. We have really seen like no infected. It's episode 5 now. Like that's kind of crazy. in a show about zombies, effectively, in the end of the world. It's not really much about them. Which is it's fascinating and just showing like the humanness of like how do you help someone who's so young like have strength in this crazy world. And he has like the superhero stuff he's drawing with like Super Sam or whatever, and then he's like, wait, I have an idea, and he paints on his face to look like he's got I forget what it was, like goggles or like a face mask kind of thing. I just thought it was touching like moments, just character building stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, they nail the emotional components. I feel like in every aspect, they know that it's like,
They know what
like,
they're doing.
yeah, especially when it comes to like a relationship of two people. I feel like they know it's like they get it across well. You love Sam and Henry, you love Bill and Frank, you love Joel and Ellie. What you don't get, which I think goes to your last point, is you don't get Kathleen and her brother. And so that's the dichotomy or whatever of that.
Yeah, maybe
what
if they would have
happens when you
showed
lose that person.
something, like if they would have showed her and her brother, and like just even if it was just like one scene to show how much they cared about each other, that might have been what it took for you to believe it.
Oh, you know what? You know what you could have done? Right? You could have just all you needed to introduce into this was a little bit of conflict between Kathleen and the special operations dude. And just have her be the one that's losing her mind over like hunting down Henry and killing him. And have him be like, we're wasting resources. We're doing this.
Mhm.
And like trying to pull her to the like you could imagine him trying to like they're in a room full of people, all subordinates and stuff, and they think that she like him or her is the head of this organization. And then they start getting in an argument and they're disagreeing, and suddenly he's just like, oh shit, we're displaying a divided front to this. And let me just pull you aside and try to convince you that we need to be more rational. Like, can we just be like tone this down? I know you hate him. We'll get to him. Like he's starting to
Yeah.
try to be pragmatic, and she's just fucking into it and just like fuck that. And like, no, we're going to kill that son of a bitch. And he, in a moment of like, oh shit, all the like fighters are watching this. I need to just back down for a second and back her up before things start getting really tumultuous. And so
Yep.
he just kind of acquiesces and just appeases her revenge fantasy. And she's just like a bat out of hell going after it. But that conflict between those two, one makes him more interesting because he's just following her around like an imprinted duckling the whole time. And not
You're
doing anything.
not wrong about that at all.
But also, it's like now you start to understand why she's in charge. And it isn't exactly because she's just inherited this thing, but it's because everybody has a lot of sympathy for her and respect for her brother. And
She's also
he's
like
so
possessed.
fucking into the emotion that she's almost impossible to control. And that becomes a driving force for the whole thing. And she's just relentlessly hunting him down. And it's like, okay, now I can see it. Now I see it.
I could totally believe that. I think.
Yeah.
Right. So Jordan, you're totally right. They're good with the two people together. All they needed to understand was that the two people together is Kathleen and this guy, and they don't get along. Just let it play out.
And
Actually,
then she
that's
somehow still gets the upper hand because she's like the visionary, full of, like she's just single-minded, focused, laser beam. Like, nope, target acquired. We're not getting off of that.
Like you could make her a really integral part of the community where people are coming up to her and like, I'm so sorry for your loss. And like, there's just so much sympathy for her that people start empathizing to the point where her rage is a social contagion. Where everyone gets caught in her emotion. Like she's just this fucking force of nature that's catching everyone in that torrent. And the one that's like, and her companion here is just trying to be like, we have to do this. And like, what about food supplies? And he's like, so different of this. Then it has a nice conflict in it, but it doesn't stop this mode of action that she set herself on.
Yeah. That's actually a really good idea. Like him being the voice of reason almost and trying to like guide the ship, but the captain's losing her mind.
Losing her
Right.
marbles.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And so
it's a whole right. The patients are running the asylum moment where at a certain point, everyone has caught onto her crazy. They're all in on the game. And there's like one dude left who's trying to be like rational here. And he's like, oh, fuck.
it brings up a thought for me, something we'll never really know. But in terms of, I guess there's two things. But the first is, in these meetings before the show comes out, I wonder what what the initial scope that they wanted to do. I wonder if they said like, oh, here's this interesting thing and we can go off here and do something with this. And then the people with the money are like, yeah, but like that's maybe deviating. Let's bring it back. Let's stay focused. So I wonder how those conversations went. We'll never know, right? We won't know that. But I'm just curious. And then on the flip is like, I wonder if the pressure from the traditionalists, like from who played the game, they don't want to deviate too much because they just did it with Bill and Frank, just deviating a little bit, and they don't want to keep doing that because in the fear of the fans being like, what is all this? This is not the game. This is so different. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, we don't want to go too much, but it would be interesting if we did, but we don't want to piss people off if we do.
Right. Like they still need to show Joel and Ellie and like develop their story at least enough so that people aren't like, what the hell, where's the story going? You can't show it off camera because then it's like, well, if interesting things are happening off camera, then what am I even watching?
Exactly. And like, I've never been to Kansas City, but it's probably not a small city, right? It's probably not super small. It's big enough that I feel like you can, I think we could have had another episode of them trying to traverse it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I know we're harping on that one part, this one aspect.
I mean, like that whole, it could have been you could have had that episode could have been cat and mouse, like just the constant feeling of her like nipping at their heels as they're just barely getting away right up into the end when she corners them and then the infected come and it's like, bang, the whole explodes. And they get there in some sense at the end. But it's not quite as doesn't hit quite as hard.
I feel like the buildup was kind of fast because it's kind of like, so this is going in with the rest of the episode, but with it was kind of slow and almost like, for me, when you finally, Joel and Ellie and Sam and Henry, they finally calm down a bit, and basically Ellie is the first one to kind of break the ice and to kind of be like, yo, we can put our guard down, and like we can, like, he's a little kid, I'm a little kid, I'm gonna be a little kid, cool, like, and you kind of get this moment, especially when they were in that underground, like kindergarten, it looked like, and you get some world building stuff of like people who defied the early lockdown stuff and tried to like rebuild the society underground. And then Joel's like, yeah, but then they all got infected. I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's dark. And that'll come back at the end of the episode. And but you still get like this moment where you just hear like Ellie is like giggling and so is Sam, and they're just kind of, it's like this one time since like the beginning of the series so far that you kind of remember that these people are living through hell as children, and you're like, oh, this is heavy. And I just thought that was really well done. But then it's like, because it was a weird juxtaposition for me because of like, they know they're being hunted at the same time. So it's kind of like you're slowing it down and you're kind of existing in like this reality that's kind of like a time warp. And then it's like you leave that and it's like, oh wait, like shit's hitting the fan again. Kind of a weird pacing thing. And I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with it, but it's just kind of like tonally, it's a little off-putting, maybe.
Yeah. Like I totally, you're right. I get this feeling like when they get down to the bunker and everything, where it's like we're racing and the stakes are high and there might be infected. And now we're just gonna chill, I guess.
Yeah, and Ellie's like, we're gonna chill out.
It's like, I know that in some sense they wanted to carve out some time to get a bit of the backstory and have a conversation between Joel and Henry. I thought that conversation went well. I can put that aside for a second. But for as far as pacing went, it was like racing forward, stop. It was just like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree 100%. It's like, I think I even commented on that watching it. I was like, oh, like, it's just all good. It's all good. Like, they just made it through. I just expected there would be like some sort of conflict between that point and then like
I
the
was like
final
waiting
act.
for an infected to show up or something.
Yeah, something to happen, and you don't get that, but you get a touching moment, and I think that's what they wanted more. So, like you said, nothing particularly wrong. It's fine. But it was kind of like, oh, I expected this to go different. Okay, we're here.
I liked their conversation. Like I think that they, like, Henry's story worked for me, right? He's an informant. So he's a narc, and I liked that the guy that he got killed was a guy that he himself admired, and that there was a lot of guilt there. Like, it wasn't just that this isn't black and white and he did this right on paper. It was that they wrote into it a lot of conflict in the character and the fact that he comes to the conclusion that he's a bad person. Right. And I liked that. I actually felt more human to me than just having a character do something for his convictions and another character doing something for their convictions. And they just happen to be at odds with each other. And then we all just go, well, I guess, life isn't always fair. And sometimes things aren't black and white. They both have their reasons. No, I want you to put those people in that situation, have them act out the things that they're going to do, and be conscious of the fact that this is rough, that you've just killed someone.
Yeah.
Right. Bring this down to earth for me, because even if you have the strength of your conviction that you did that, you still have to suffer the consequences of your actions, like on an emotional level. Right. Say nothing about the fact that now they're fleeing for their lives.
Yeah.
But it's like, but yeah, I thought that they did that pretty well. I was like, there it is. Yes. It's like,
I also like the fact too that he didn't like pointing guns at people. He's like, I haven't directly killed anyone. He's like, pointing my gun at you is the closest I've ever been to actually like harming somebody. I like that about Henry's character. because it just showed like kind of the impossible situation he's been put in. And
Yeah. Is the first person he shoots Sam? Fuck. Wow. I didn't realize that one.
and we'll get there, and that's why he does what he does effectively. I mean, multiple reasons, but yeah, it's heavy as hell.
Oh, they've already seen it.
I know.
Fuck him.
But yeah, kind of moving on from those scenes of like how much Sam means to Henry and like the guilt Henry has. You get them going outside to, it's like the highway or something, like right outside the outskirts of the city, effectively, kind of like a suburban street, it looks like. And this is like the big action sequence of the whole episode that they've kind of been building towards, or the climax of the last 2 episodes. And I think, Jordan, to your point of like kind of thinking about like the production or pre-production conversations, I honestly think a lot of what happened with this episode ends up being in a budgetary sense of like, what shots are going to cost a ton of money for us to do, and how do we make sure this episode doesn't like explode our budget in a crazy way. Because a lot of the infected you see, and I mean, just doing that kind of street level scene with all the props and like a vehicle exploding and stuff like that, that's a lot of money. Like almost all of the actors that are infected are real actors. They trained to run, not CGI. The bloater is also a real person in an outfit, and it's completely practical. The suit itself cost $500,000 to make.
Crazy.
Yes. So you're talking about they paid a team to make one suit. I mean, probably more than one suit, but $500,000 to put a guy in a suit, effectively. And so you can understand why they're
It's worth more than all the money I've earned in my life.
So like, and I don't say this just to like say this is like, wow, look at how much money they spent. What I'm saying is like, creating like an episode is a dance of budgets. Like every scene you film, every minute you capture on film costs you money, and getting all those people to do multiple takes costs you money. And so you're not going to just be able to just do everything you want with your story because of budgetary constraints. And this is totally inside baseball when it comes to like the behind the scenes of making anything, but that like I think this gets lost on people. It's like, well, of course you wish this episode might be different or whatever, but we don't see all the stuff that wasn't included or what they wish they would have had. Because I'm sure stuff got cut that, and I totally jumped ahead, but I don't know. It's just interesting to me to think about it from that angle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a never-ending conversation of like art versus, I guess,
Business.
finance or business or whatever. When it's like they'll never be completely at odds, because you're always gonna have the artist or creative who's like, "But it has to happen." And you know what I mean? It's like the passion is like, "Fuck the budget." Like you're always gonna have that.
The Kathleens of
Yeah, and then you have her right hand man like, "Yo, we can't afford that, yo." You know what I mean? Like we gotta cut it. You know what I mean? So it's always at odds. And that's why you got to give these creatives, these storytellers, the benefit of the doubt. And that's why it's like all these complaints are kind of like, but it's still good. Like it's still a good show. It's still a good episode.
Yeah.
It's just like, in a perfect world, it would be nice. And maybe season 2, they'll probably get a little bit more flexible. Okay, we'll give you a little bit more budget because this is going very well. So we'll give you a little bit more leash, that you can, expand. Maybe, we'll see. But no, I mean, you're 100% right. It probably comes down to budget and time, and like HBO's like, well, we got all this other stuff and scheduling and just a whole bunch of shit that, gets overlooked really easy.
All the boring things that people don't care about, like when you're actually watching a show, but then when you're actually into how do these things get made, it's like, that's the boring stuff that like makes sure that it even happens.
Right.
In reality. And then kind of going back to the show, it's like, you get this sniper sequence, which I was like, where the heck is this guy? I didn't even I don't know if it was dark or something, but I was just like, what? I'm like, why is there just some random guy taking pot shots? Like, it just felt kind of like a weird. I don't know. I would have like expected it to be more like an outpost type like thing, because if you've driven out all the infected, the only people you have to worry about are other people who are scavengers, and if they're part of Kathleen's people, they have to be on alert. So hiding is kind of like, I don't know, just seemed,
Yeah.
I
So
don't know.
this scene, pretty much from here until they get away, right? This is when most of my issues came in.
Hmm.
That I was like, I'm remembering I'm watching a show, and I have to force myself to be like, okay, I'm watching a I'm watching a show. Now I want to first say it was still entertaining, and I liked it. Like I still enjoyed it, but I kept getting drawn out. Right, logic was coming in. First of all, when they're walking through the street and everything's good, I literally was like, "Oh, they're all good," because the guy was like, "Oh, we're gonna get out. It's gonna be fine," and I was like, "Yeah, okay, it's not all good." Right. So then the sniper starts shooting. They get pinned down. And Joel's like, "Stay here. I'm going to go get him. I'm going to go around the back." Okay, fine. The guy has bad aim. Cool. We can go with that, right? Of course he has bad aim, right? He's going across the back, and the guy sees he's shooting him the whole way through. And then as Joel comes through the back door, the guy's still looking at the street. Like he didn't just see the guy go around the house. You know what I mean? And I was like, he's not even like anticipating someone like he like
I mean,
fuck. He
not
might
to
be
mention
trying to
you're
sneak
probably
in.
going to hear boots like walking through the house as he's walking up the stairs or something.
Yeah, I was like, that okay, fine. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys didn't notice that.
I thought it was weird. There's something disjointed about it because it was kind of fast that I was just like, wait, what? Why is he looking out the window? Like he's like, there was 4 of them and now there's only 3.
Didn't Sam, was it Sam and Henry that tried to like run backwards at one point, and then the sniper like shot the car that was in the direction they were heading? They went whoa, and then they went back to where they were at.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not how this works. Like you keep going in that direction. It's not like he suddenly appeared in front of you. Now you have to turn back to the direction you were coming from. It's like, you're fine. Just keep going.
Yeah. It was I was like, I don't know if this is plot armor or something. I was just like, I don't buy that. But the guy, I was like, this guy is so not like tactically sound to be like, I should probably check my rear. I'm here by myself. Let me just turn around. I mean, like,
Right.
I don't know. I was like, okay, fine. Right. That's whatever. That's one part. Moving forward. Okay. So then, it was cool though, how the guy was like, they're here. He called in or he was talking to Kathleen, right? I
Yeah,
was
they
like,
had the
ooh.
radio.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, I like that's suspenseful. That's sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
I
look
like
up
that.
and here they come, and you hear Joel like run, run. I was like, okay, they're hitting the thrilling part perfect, right? They're nailing that. It's just the logic was kind of had to suffer, right? And this is where the big issues for me came in, because what the fuck happened? How did they? Okay, so the truck is like crashing through the highway, moving all these cars out of the way. Ellie, Sam, and Henry are in the middle of the road, like right ahead of them, but then they lose sight of them. It's like, okay, that's fine. But what happened? I was like, what? I was just like, I don't know. I think I was like, why did they get distracted and lose track of them when Ellie was literally on the ground right in front? And then I think it was Henry had to go pick her up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was just,
Mhm.
no.
And I was like, okay, hold on. It's like Sniper Man has stopped shooting. You aren't hiding behind cover anymore. You're running out in the open to get the hell away from this car that's barreling down the road. Why don't you just get off of the road and start running in the direction of the bridge you were supposed to be heading to? Like you could already be gone. Then I was just like, are we just gonna wait here for a confrontation to happen? I guess so.
Right.
Plot armor, like you said, because the plot needs to happen a little bit. Like it maybe they were just very set on like the set piece that they had here. so they just kind of forced it to happen without really giving it enough legs to stand on. Because it really felt like to me, it's like, well, what if the car loses control and then because I think Joel shoots the driver or something like that, and then it careens off to the side, it breaks through the ground, and then all of a sudden, it hits a house or something like that, and then it collapses, and then chaos ensues. It's kind of like the inciting incident, but I don't know, like immediately they lost like. This whole episode was kind of like, or like the last 2 episodes have all been like, hey, Henry's the target. We're going to kill Henry. And like, he's with some new people. So that they're just going to be collateral damage. And then very quickly, like the objective shifts to, oh wait, there's infected now. Forget those people. Onto the infected.
I didn't understand how Kathleen knew that Joel and Ellie were the ones that killed the random group of people. Like, she comes out and she says, like, no, they have to die too because they killed these people. And I was like, how do you know that? Aren't the only people that know that they killed those dudes were the dudes that are now dead and Henry?
Mhm.
I'm like, how the fuck do you know?
Right. Yeah, and I don't like the monologue where Henry and Kathleen were speaking to each other. Like, she was looking for him, and he's like, "Okay, I'm here. Let them go." I'm just like, with how they were establishing Kathleen, why was she having this moment to talk to him when, like, she clearly, like, if she's standing here, they were like hiding here. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like they were like, she was like, I'm not sure where they are. It was like, you're right next to them. I'm surprised she wasn't just like to her men, like, go get them. You know what I mean? I was just like
the fucking Kara.
right. And I was like, okay, I get it. Like, I get why it has to happen. And so it didn't ruin it for me. It was just too much of me being like, okay, I have to just accept that this has to happen for the plot to occur. Right. Because then you get the distraction from the infected as she's finally like, it's over, Henry. And then the car sinks and then the chaos. Right. And it's like, I just feel like how they established her, she wouldn't have wasted time. She was so motivated to get this dude.
She wouldn't do the bad guy monologue.
Yeah. I'm like, but she's going to stop and conversate with him. And it's, maybe I'm harping too much, but it's the first time so far in the 5 episodes that I was like, yeah, it didn't really sit well,
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
I think for me, I got the most gamey feeling out of this episode too, with like the Joel doing the sniper Overwatch thing. And I was like, wow, this feels like something that would be in a game of like, you have to protect your AI companion from a distance. Don't let the infected kill them. And it's not to say it didn't work, but I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like the rapid cutting that makes it jarring, where you're going from cuts to Joel shooting to back to Ellie, and then it's I don't know.
I had problems with his gun too. Like, it was a bolt action rifle. And I didn't see any mags sticking out of it. So he was just like, I'm like, you're just loading invisible bullets. Where are these coming from? What kind of rifle?
Hollywood is very bad when it comes to guns. So
I didn't think of that. Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's time again and it jams, but like, it's a bolt action rifle. You go like this and then you just fix it. And then you go like this.
Yeah,
it's not like there's nothing pushing it out of the mag into the actual chamber where the 2 of them get caught. It's in fact, bolt action rifles almost never jam. And you're the one that jams it. You're making it do the thing. And like, stop doing the thing that you were doing.
Yo, that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
That's amazing.
And dude was kind of ballsy because he was shooting like really close to like some of the things he was hitting was like right next to Ellie. I'm like, bro, I mean, you might be a good shot. Jesus. You know what I mean?
I'm a good shot and I don't think I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I'm not taking that one.
You're taking
if you're wrong, you're like really wrong.
Yeah.
Episode 5, last episode of the season. We're packing it up.
Fuck. The Last of Us turns into the only one left.
It's literally just Joel like looking over the rifle like, oh shit. And then the like Curb Your Enthusiasm music starts playing.
Oh,
The end of the show.
Jesus. And I feel like we're kind of nitpicking a little bit, but
yeah, for sure.
but like notwithstanding, it was an interesting sequence. I thought the car scene was fucking terrifying, where Ellie climbs into the car
Nice.
and then they have the child infected, because that's what I was alluding to earlier, where you finally see the like, oh wait, look, children can be infected and turned into clickers too, and I'm like, this is messed up. Like this is terrifying because it's just like flipping over itself, like contortionist style and stuff. I'm like, ugh,
Yeah.
super unsettling.
Yeah, its movements were weird. Yeah.
Dude, the way they had the kid get into the car and then do like kind of a somersaulty backflip like
Yeah.
thing, I was like, I
The
don't like that at all.
heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
And then kind of going back with the bloater, I thought, honestly, I would have, if I didn't see the stuff after the fact, I honestly thought the bloater was CGI,
I thought it
because it was really well done. And then what it does to Perry, which it just rips off his head. I was like, damn, okay then.
Like, dude, it looked like opening a bag of chips, like a stubborn family-sized bag of chips, just like, and just like all the chips fly everywhere, except it was like his head.
Yeah. Apparently the actor who wore that suit was 6'7", so the dude is huge.
Oh shit.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
It's a big fella. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one of those things like, damn, they really thought about like, how do we make this look real, or at least like imposing, at the very least. I think it was cool to see like, okay, we got other versions infected, but then it was like they stopped a lot of them, but then they were like, yeah, there's no way we're going to be able to take all these out, so we're just going to say peace. And like they get away, and then Kathleen has her villain moment again of like, you can't leave,
Yeah.
which
Which,
cliche as fuck. Like it's,
you know what? Before we move on though, you know what I really appreciated? The sound design for shooting the bloater.
Yeah.
Like when he gets shot, I was like, oh, it sounds like it's hitting Earth.
Yeah.
Like I believed that thing could take bullets.
oh, that's
I
interesting.
was like, oh damn, it felt like it was just such a dense piece of like Earth, like living Earth. They were just like cool.
Natural body armor.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they nailed the badass moments of this scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was fun to watch. It was just like if you think too much, it's like but it's like just remove that, you know what I mean? But the way the show was set up, it was like, oh, like you can think, you can appreciate the little things. And this was the first time where I was like, okay, just you're here to be entertained, right? So just be entertained. But yeah, I mean, it was the whole. I mean, that was dope. I didn't catch the sound thing, so I'm glad you said that because I want to rewatch.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it too. I didn't catch it either.
Because I want to appreciate that aspect of filmmaking, and you know that it's like the work that these guys are putting into the sound, you know. And it's like even thinking of that, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't catch that, but that's dope.
Yeah, because I can't imagine. Like it was strange. It caught me when it happened because I was like, oh shit! Like it was so good that I noticed it. I was almost pulled out of the show. I was like, damn, that was good design. Like it hits. It just sounds like hitting Earth. Like poof, poof, poof. I was like, oh, this is cool.
That's
Sounds
interesting.
dense.
That's an art people don't appreciate nearly enough.
Yeah, that's important too.
But they get away. So they get away, and Kathleen's dead because of the crazy kid thing. The last scene with them all in the
They're like at a
house.
motel or something.
Some old, which is funny. Them in the old motel, and the kid revealing that he's been bit. It's like
I was kind of waiting for it. I was like, "There's no way
Yeah.
everybody gets out of this unscathed,"
Yeah.
and I was like, "It also couldn't be Joel or Ellie," so it's like it leaves two other people.
Yeah.
and that whole like couple of like the part where they arrive there and Joel and Henry are there. He's like, you guys can come with us. It's like once things started to sound good and positive, I was like, somebody's fucked. So that was happening. And then, of course, the scene with Ellie and Sam, which I thought was okay, right? It was fine. It was like kind of heartfelt, and you could kind of tell that Ellie's trying to do the good thing.
Hmm.
That, I mean, I don't want to rush through this exactly, but it's the following scene that I have more thought on than those.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
thought it was like, okay, she's trying to, you know, I mean, she's thinking like, okay, if I'm immune or something, maybe I can protect people. And nobody knows if that is true or not. Like, and nobody thinks she is even a possibility, right? And so she tries something, and
Mm.
the next morning,
I was gonna say before we move on, I just wanted to add to this part real quick. I love this for Ellie's development. I was like, fuck, because I think in the games I think that happens in the game. Some
I
similar, not in the same way.
I think it does too, because I saw like a
Yeah,
side by side shot of not this scene we're talking about, but like the next or the ending scene, effectively.
right. Um,
Um,
and so for Ellie's development, I loved it because it's one, it this whole episode, like you remember she's a kid, right? And you can kind of forget that because she has to seem older. I think she's only 14, so she's still a kid,
yeah,
right? So when she finds out he's bit, and her way to fix that was so like us watching could be like, that's clearly not gonna fucking work. She's like trying to rub her, she cuts herself to reveal her blood and then smears it into his cut. First thing I thought was AIDS. And then I was like, it's not that's not gonna work.
I thought the same thing. I was like, don't do contact to contact. Like, drip it in there or something.
Right.
Like, what are you nasty? Why
I
are you
was like,
doing that?
brave, very brave.
yeah, that is very brave.
but childlike, right? And then she's like, it should
Yeah.
be fine. I'm immune. You'll be fine. But it was almost not only was it childlike, it was speaking to like her desperation. And I don't know if she said this before or after, but she was afraid. She was like, I'm afraid to be alone. Right.
Mm.
And it was like she found someone who was her friend, her Henry Joel. It was like that idea of like a family, right? It makes her family she was
Yeah,
getting. And then like right when everything seemed fine, it was getting ripped away from her. And it was like this desperate, immature, childlike, last ditch effort to
like a
save that.
clinging onto something.
Right. And I was like, oh fuck, this is gonna be heartbreak. Because we all know
Yes.
that's not gonna work. So yeah, so we can sorry, I just wanted to touch on that real quick.
No, I think that was good to highlight that because it does show like, clearly she's still a kid and using kid logic to like, oh, I can maybe save someone, especially like the whole Tess sequence. It's like there was nothing they could have done with Tess either, or maybe she didn't even think that it could have been a possibility since they awakened a horde, anyways. So it was like you just have to leave because if you don't leave, you die anyways. um. So and like this is her way of like maybe this is some like maybe I actually am the cure or something like that is her idea.
Mm.
Rather than just being like an anomaly that couldn't be turned into something, right?
Mm. Every episode. I like the actress for Ellie more.
Yeah.
Really, like she just the way that when they were in the bunker where she was bonding with Sam, the way that she gave him high fives was
Mm.
perfect.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't yeah, and they like hit it like freeze frame end of a Pokemon episode. It was like it was doing the classic kid thing where you just slap the shit out of their hand, just hard as fuck. Like doing that way too much energy into this and doing it multiple times. It was like it felt so normal. Like I was like, oh yeah, I've done that. Where you're just like, fuck yeah, and you just like hit the shit out of their hand. I was like, oh, I so believe this. I was like,
Mm.
she is fantastic. I thought she was a great actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the next scene.
Yeah, the voice actor and I think the body actor for the game casted her, like gave her recommendation to cast Bella Ramsey
Oh, for real? That's
as
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, just a thought, but yeah,
I think
she's killing it.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too because I feel like you kind of started out with her being like the sassy, and this is just kind of talking about her progression so far, but she kind of started the sassy kind of like angsty teenager type person, like I don't want to listen to nobody kind of thing, like I'll do it myself. And then like as this has gone on, she's like really evolved to be able to show more like flavors of emotion. From being this childlike, almost whimsical because she's around Henry, who's I think he's like 8 or 9, I think. something like that. So it's like because she's around someone who's younger than her, she's letting other sides of herself rather than having to be like pretend adult because all she's around is other adults who treat her like a kid. So she's like, don't treat me like a kid. Um, I think it's interesting just to see like so many like different ways of expression, because normally you get a lot of people who are one note or like this is the only type of character and they like really don't explore beyond that.
So
yes, the penultimate scene.
Sam turns into one of the infected.
Dude, the when she wakes up, like she was in the chair, and then you see the sunlight kind of coming in, and Sam is like facing away. I was like, no, please no.
Like you already know what's happened.
Yeah,
you already know.
Yeah. And then Sam, or not Sam, Henry's reaction is what sold it for me too. Of like Joel's trying to jump into action mode, and he's like, no, we don't do this.
Yeah. I thought so. Impressions on that scene, right? Sam knocks over Ellie and is trying to bite her, and there's a fight, and everybody's figuring out what the hell's going on.
Yeah, because Joel
Henry grabs the gun,
we're asleep.
points at Joel to stop Joel from interacting because he's panicking because he doesn't know what to do. Right? He's like, "What the fuck?" Right? Nobody knows this was going on except for Ellie, who told no one. But
that seems like a mistake in hindsight. Now,
yeah, that was a terrible idea. Way to be fucking 14. But he freaks out, panics, pulls the trigger, kills the kid. And the way that they just show the dark blood of killing, you'll notice in movies too, that when they want to make it dark, like the scene dark, they'll make the blood color darker. But if you're watching Monty Python, all the blood is bright. So it's comical. They'll do that all the time in movies. So if they're like horror movies, it's always dark blood. But like, so it's really dark and it's just slowly spreading. And it's like you see him starting to panic and realize what's going on. And then when he shoots himself, when he has a moment of panic, the show is they're really good at these moments, showing Ellie's expression, right? So they in previous moments where people died, they stayed with it and they made you watch it, right? To like put you in the moment. But with this moment, they don't show it, but it's almost more emotional because they just show Ellie's face, and the actress again fucking nails it. I mean, I literally was like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Like covered my face. Like had it visceral, non-conscious, like uncontrolled reaction. It was a immediate gut impulse to behave, to go, oh fuck, and recoil. And that was because of her acting, for sure.
And I thought Joel's acting like set it up too, because he's like, wait, no. And then it cuts back to Henry, which is like split second, you hear bang, and then back to Ellie. So it's like the trifecta of like the escalation, because Joel recognizes what's about to happen before it even happens. And then you get to see the aftermath of like Ellie responding to it. And it's like, I think it's heightened because this all happened because she was trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
In like a tragic way.
Yeah.
I mean,
fuck.
Commenting on the acting is like, am I good? Did I lag? No,
you're good.
Okay.
Oh no, I was responding to the scene because it's like fuck. Like,
oh, gotcha. I thought you said fuck because I was like, I'm like, not again. My bad,
PTSD about recording your shoot.
That's what that was, yeah. But yeah, the acting is phenomenal, especially I would say Bella Ramsey. She's killing it. And I feel like I was just like quiet this whole scene because you know what's coming, but then when it comes, it's almost like harsher than you are prepared for. It's just like, damn.
HBO doesn't
heavy,
pull punches,
you know what I mean?
especially when like consequential scenes like these. Like I swear, other shows would totally pull punches and be like, "Yeah, we're not going to show this or like linger here." Like, maybe you hear bang and then it cuts to like the following scene with the graves, but it's like in that scene they would do the more emotional stuff, but in this it's more like they let it unfold in an organic way rather than just being like, oh yeah, bad things happened,
Mm-hmm.
move on. Like,
Yeah.
nope, we're gonna make the audience feel all of it.
Yeah.
Like, you just spent an whole episode understanding the motivations of these two characters, and you got to really get like, I enjoyed them. I really liked the dynamic between them, and then it's like, yep, bittersweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what this narrative of the game and the show does really well, it's like it puts you in this position of like when you love or care for someone, and it's showing you like at every turn how that can affect the person and what happens when that person is lost or whatever. So like Joel in the beginning with his daughter, when Joel
Mhm.
loses Tess, who means a lot to him in a way, but he's still guarded, right? So it's kind of like, but it affects somebody, he can't show it. Then you have Kathleen and her brother, right? And then you have Joel and Ellie getting closer, Henry and Sam. Sam was sick, something. I don't know if they said what,
It's
but he was sick.
leukemia. I just
It
looked
was
it up
leukemia.
on. Yeah.
Okay, so he was sick, and he kills this really good man that he looked up to save his brother, and now at the end he saves these people gotten close with because his brother turned, and then he realizes, and he kills himself, and then it's like now you have Joel and Ellie. What's gonna happen when one
Right.
of them is at risk? If you play the game, you know what happens. I'll leave it there. I'll leave it
We'll
there.
get there. We'll
Yeah.
get there. Oh boy, will we get there?
Yeah.
I mean,
Um,
I think you're nailing it, honestly, because it's really they're really playing on this theme of like two people, and what would you do for the people you care about most in this world, or could you live without the person you care about most in this world? And I think the show so far is telling you most people don't recover from losing the person they care about most in the world, and some people, or most people, at least as far as the show goes, end up getting themselves killed or killing themselves because they don't want to carry on without that person.
yeah.
And Finn.